put the bunny back in the box? Why couldn't you put the bunny back in the box?
It's showtime.
Psychically, I'm very well endowed.
I want to know what you're thinking. There are some things you can't hide. I want to know what you're feeling. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole, our Monday show. The Gen X Files, pop culture from the point of view of those from who it was written, who were there from the beginning. Anyway, I have another fellow, I think he's a Gen Xer. I'm pretty sure he's around my age. So, fellow Gen Xer, welcome to the Gen X Files.
I'm actually a millennial. I don't like being very open with that fact, but it is true.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're what year? What year?
88.
88. Okay. Well, we'll call you a Xennial.
That'll work.
Yeah. We give a kind of like a leeway there for the 80s. We call them Xennials, and so we claim them. We claim them. So you're good.
I like it. All right. glad I made it to the X side of it. They're way cool.
No problem. Welcome in. Hey, there's Wrangler, my mod extraordinaire. A whole lot of hola. Hey. Well, welcome. Well, so we're talking dystopian epics today, dystopian fiction. So outside of call sign Orion, do you have a favorite dystopian?
A favorite.
Well, not really a favorite. I mean, they're kind of bleak. The very nature of a dystopian is pretty bleak, but you know.
That's true. I think Brave New World is my favorite, like pure dystopian.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha.
It's just kind of like the classic. That's like the OG.
Yeah. Well, I asked opinion for what kind of dystopia are we headed for. And I gave him 4 options: Blade Runner, Mad Max, Soylent Green, and The Walking Dead. All 4 are kind of, I see aspects in society right now that I could see in those epics. And so, hold on a second. Gen X and the first wave of millennials pretty close to the same. We both grew up watching the world shift from industrial age to the electronic age. Good point. Good point.
That is true.
Yeah, we saw those. We went from black and white televisions to personal computers, and just formative years.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, out of those, can you guess which one they chose?
The winner. I don't know, Blade Runner.
Well, it kind of surprised me, but this one got chosen.
They're making our food out of people. Next thing, they'll be breeding us like cattle for food. You gotta tell them. You gotta tell them.
Promise, Tiger. I promise. I'll tell the exchange.
You tell everybody. Listen to me, Hatcher. You gotta tell them. Silent Green is people. We gotta stop them somehow.
Yeah, I could see that. I think the World Economic Forum would like that.
Yeah, they would. There's one that I didn't include that reminds me of the plans that the WEF have. Let me play this.
So that's how it's made. Still hot.
Wow, look at them all. And you do some nice work.
That's right, man. There's your food. There's your protein block.
Yuck. But yeah, that is definitely the future they want.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. Invested big in one of those companies.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And a bug company making food.
Well, I mean, given the stand they took during the presidential campaign, I think all of the Avengers have taken a hit in our eyes. So.
Yeah, I think Robert Downey is kind of in character as Dr. Doom now. Maybe he's a method actor. Maybe
he's planning on getting that going that direction. But Soylent Green was the one I chose. I had one guy say answered Blade Runner, but a sprinkling of Soylent Green for flavor. I was like, yeah, that's pretty dark.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like, we're going in an AI direction, and they clearly want to cull the human population, feed us bugs or people,
Yeah.
I like the Demolition Man answer, I'm
suddenly I have urge to fast.
Right. I lean more towards the
Demolition Man.
I mean, Demolition Man and my book, Call Sign Orion, were both inspired by Brave New World. That's like the source material for a lot of dystopian. So,
well, the interesting thing about Demolition Man that I missed the first few times through, but if you look at, they basically are predicting the California that we have now. Essentially, all of Demolition Man was like set in California.
Oh yeah,
and then the whole idea of one woke mind taking over all of California and bending society to his will, and basically neutering everybody and making everybody compliant and pretty much knocking all the edges off. It's very similar to what we see in that society over there.
Yeah, that's what Gavin Newsom would certainly like to do. It's funny because, like, having grown up in California, when that movie was released, it's not that hard to imagine. Like, all the stuff that's going on now was going on back then.
That's social engineering. I mean, that's what that movie's about. Is they socially engineered all of the sharp edges out of themselves, and then suddenly this guy shows up that still has the edges on him, and they can't handle him, because they've kind of like evolved themselves, beyond the ability for violence. But then this dude, it turns out that the dude that evolved them was the one that set him loose. And it's just like, your rules for thee and not for me is just so Californian,
Mm-hmm. What I think is so brilliant about Demolition Man is they took the Aldous Huxley idea of Brave New World, but they also predicted where political correctness would eventually go.
Yeah.
In the woke mind virus. That is the conformity that, became Aldous Huxley's kind of dream. But I think it's interesting because
you can't, it's not reversed, but our secret ingredient is our people. That was an actual billboard on McDonald's. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. I tell you the truth, I saw that campaign, and it never occurred to me as like Soylent Green, it never occurred to me, but somebody pointed that out. I was like, oh crap. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's like,
What I think is so brilliant about Demolition Man is that they predicted where political correctness would eventually go, because it was kind of that's where the Democratic Party was starting to shift in the 90s. Right. And you had a lot of like more classically liberal people on the left who saw that coming early on. Yeah. And I think the writer of Demolition Man was one of those people. And what's interesting is like the censorship people back then were mostly right-wing people. Mm-hmm. And I think like it's funny, like the only songs you're allowed to sing in Demolition Man are like the commercial jingles, and they're very like 1950s idealistic America commercial jingles.
And they consolidated it all down to like one restaurant chain, Taco Bell.
Right. And I think that's like the singing, the music, and the idea that would come from the right is like the only part that I guess is kind of a mix, but I guess that kind of Americana like music they have, the only part that I see is inaccurate of the whole thing. But otherwise, I think it's totally brilliant.
Well, I don't know if Sylvester Stallone wrote that script. But the fact
he didn't, no.
But whoever it was that wrote that script is definitely got to be based, because the fact that the only restaurant they'll allow is Taco Bell is just like, considering the.
Oh yeah, I see. I see what you're saying.
I missed that for several times through it. Or like, of course it's gonna be Taco Bell. It's California. I was like, holy crap, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I don't know if that's where he meant to go with that. Like, it seems like just a silly jab at monopolies.
Well, considering how like aimed everything else was in that movie, I think it has to be deliberate.
Although in the European edit, they replaced Taco Bell with Pizza Hut.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I guess I don't have a lot of experience with Tex-Mex in the world, but Pizza Hut works. But I had a guy in my chat who shall remain nameless for some unknown reason. He thinks it's being political to say this. Putting aside that 1984 and Brave New World are political, how do you think we would get to that dystopia?
Well, they're totally different. I mean,
but he said none of that. Those match where we are going. We're going to have a surveillance state of 1984, the dopamine control of Brave New World. So
Brave New World has a surveillance state too, I think.
Yeah.
It's just different. And I think the main difference is Brave New World's voluntary.
Right.
And, people, I think we saw that. I think Brave New World is so much more likely because we saw that in the West.
Yeah.
I think 1984 just basically described the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And,
well, I think it was predicting the hand-in-hand propaganda state that we've been living in. I used to think it just started like recently, but I think it goes as far back as MK Ultra. When MK Ultra started. Pardon me, I have to go to the sewers to pick up a rat burger. Yeah.
Hey, John.
Hey, what's up, John?
It goes back, I think, to probably the Spanish-American War, at least.
Yeah.
It goes back pretty far.
Remember the Maine?
Exactly.
One of our ships blows up, and they decided to spin a war out of it. Yep.
Yeah, Vietnam. Oh, yeah. No, Spanish American.
Manila.
Sorry, yeah. It seems to happen multiple times.
Yeah. Well, we were pointing this out. We were covering Woodrow Wilson the other day, and how how it seemed like when he needed us to be at war, the Lusitania was suddenly loaded up with supplies that were going to directly run afoul of Germans who told them not to send ships into this area. And they sent this ship directly into that area full of stuff that Germans were going to sink. And then, oh no, the Lusitania got sink. We're at war,
Yeah.
And you see that pattern repeated over and over again. Jesse the Body Ventura actually said I saw this today where he was talking about that there's always like some event to get us into whatever they need us to get into, like when they needed us to they needed surveillance state, 2 planes crash into the World Trade Center, and then all the shady stuff that surrounds that now, now that we're no longer trusting the media narrative around it. And you see what happened with the Patriot Act, But it seems like if they want some massive change to happen, then they come up with some massive event like COVID, And then if they want to completely, totally restructure society, there's some black swan event, just suddenly drops from heaven, and suddenly it's like they're trying to reshape everything until we get our equilibrium and get our feet back.
Equilibrium, that's another good dystopian.
Oh yeah, exactly. Equilibrium's definitely another good dystopian, where people are not allowed emotional expression. Emotions are outlawed by one person at the top. That's definitely a good one. But when you look at all this stuff, when you look at dystopian fiction, it's dystopian fiction is like our brakes. It's like somebody sees the patterns of what's coming, what's approaching, what's being implemented, and then does their best to put their feet on the brakes. Dystopian epics are the way we try to slow down the our descent in a way. It's kind of like a parachute for society. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One interesting thing I find about Brave New World is they had silent film back then. And Huxley writes about silent film like it's this kind of, well, it's a little more advanced in the book because it's in the future, but
right,
it's kind of like a psychedelic experience for everybody, and it's like making people dumber.
Right.
I think that's probably how we saw silent film. But today we would just say that about smartphones. But like you said, he noticed the trend and how things were going.
Yeah.
And people just didn't want to, in a sense, take the red pill and see the horror. They just wanted to be comfortably numb, I guess.
Well, even as far back as Metropolis, when you watch that movie where they make basically take an automaton and clothe it in the skin of a attractive lady to go down and foment a riot among the workers, so they can clamp down on the workers, because the workers are getting too much freedom and too much independence, and so they need them to rebel so they can quell the rebellion and get back in control. And then nobody's going to blame, or nobody's going to see it as totalitarianism, because they were the ones that kind of initiated it, and we're seeing that right now.
Yeah. Do you hear that lightning?
Yeah, I hear it.
It's Colorado.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully it won't disappear anytime soon.
Yeah, I sure hope.
But yeah, we're seeing that right now. We're seeing where the January 6th, where they needed a riot. They needed an event so they could clamp down on a certain class of people. And so they basically allowed them to have this rally, but then they had these people planted within that rally that were like putting the idea that, oh, we need to go to the Capitol, and protest this. And, the guy is still yet to be arrested, by the way.
It was so obviously planned. You see them moving the gates and people just walking around in there.
They're just walking around and like taking pictures, and they were basically thinking they were getting like they were like, hey, go through this rope here, we're opening it wide open, and then later on it's like, oh, they're the most horrible insurrection. It's the worst thing since Pearl Harbor.
Meanwhile, every American city's on fire.
Meanwhile, it's the summer of love. It's a mostly peaceful protest. Yeah.
What opened my eyes when it was during the. I mean, I never really believed any of this was legit. I thought it was planned from the beginning. But what's really made it obvious, is like during the Rittenhouse trial, it was revealed that there were drones watching the whole thing. They had surveillance. And they had enough to like submit. The state had enough to submit as evidence against Rittenhouse.
Really?
But if they had that, then what else did they have? What other crimes have they witnessed and are just choosing to not prosecute?
Yeah, I didn't know about the drone footage.
It's just so obviously selective,
Oh yeah, definitely. I
think it was from the FBI, the drone footage. So like they had that, and they witnessed all this crime.
Yeah.
But this kid who defended himself, is the one getting the footage submitted in court.
Yeah, the thing that got the mob on him was the fact that he took a fire extinguisher and put out a burning dumpster that they had shoved towards gas pumps.
Yeah.
That was his big crime. That's why. That's what got him attacked.
He was just an idealistic 18-year-old, thinking, I'm going to make a difference out here. Kind of that was his big mistake, like going among that mob and trying to do a good thing. It was basically Sodom and Gomorrah at that point. Let the place freaking burn, man. Don't look back.
But that's what they want to happen, except that
that is what they want. But it's on the people who own the property to defend their property. And or escape, those are your two options.
He was there to make a difference. He was there to help officially. He was there to help those people. Those were
but he didn't live there. Is my point. Like, he should never gone in.
Well, at the same time, he worked there all the time, and he was there all the time, and his dad worked there or lived there.
Yeah. What comes to that? Unless you got someone who you're gonna like help escape, just don't go in.
Well, I mean, that's what they want. I mean, that's literally what they want. That's like what they did with Daniel Penny,
well, they want to destroy things, but I mean, you see.
Well, they don't. What they want is they want compliance. They want us to basically accept that things are going to be destroyed, accept the degradation of society.
Well, they're also selective about their targets. Like they're not going to come try that where I live.
Well, they're not going to try it in the rural areas either. I mean, they'll do it in blue cities all day long.
That's what I mean. There's certain areas where they would never try it, and because they know they'll never get what they want there.
Right.
But if they want to tear apart their own cities, unless I got someone who lives there who I'm going to help get out, I'm not going in because I know what's going to happen. Even if you do something good, you can't win.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. The blue cities are basically burning themselves to the ground, and essentially it's like they're trying to attack and destroy things in red states and rural communities by destroying themselves, and somehow they're supposed to damage us, and and it's really odd. It's like I'm slapping myself and then I'm blaming you for my abuse,
it's insane.
It really is.
In this way, I think the South kind of has risen again because of northern incompetence. People are moving to cities like, places in Texas, places in Florida.
Yep.
South Carolina is a booming state now. Tennessee, all these southern places, in the last 20 years is because of the incompetence of blue states.
Well, unfortunately, we've got everything red but the governor, and I can't figure out how we keep getting blue governors in the red state like we've got.
Where do you live?
North Carolina.
Okay.
But we've had 3 blue governors in a row. Roy Cooper, who I wouldn't trust to groom a poodle, got reelected twice. Never even campaigned in the state, and he got reelected twice. Got elected once and then reelected another time. And then the guy that followed him, nobody even knew who the guy was. Never showed up, and he only showed up like a week before the election, and we're like, oh, this is the candidate. This is the guy. Okay. And then he blew out Chapman, who was one of the best candidates that Republicans have had in years. This big black man with this great voice, and every time he spoke, it sounded like a revival was going to break out. He spoke at the RNC. He spoke, all over. Just an incredible man, and they ruined him so bad that he decided that after the governor's race was over, he was just going to retire from politics entirely because they went after his family so hard, and he just couldn't do it. But it's the name Cooper. Yeah, well, I don't claim him. We're not related at all, any way, shape, or form. Anyway, no claim here. But the thing about it is, though, it's like when we're not paying, when people are working. People are like engaged in their lives. People are trying to like raise their kids and, pay their mortgages and keep a roof over their heads and just take care of their business. And it's like inevitability of it because they're all focused on the destruction of society. And it's like they never rest. Mm-hmm. And behind them, there's like 5 or 6 more that want the same thing. They don't think they're so indoctrinated that they all want the exact same thing, which is the destruction, completely destruction of culture. And so we're sitting here and we can only focus for small periods of time. And so what do? They wait us out, or we get rid of one of them and they got, they get rid of one blue hair and they got like a swishy, big city guy come in right after her with the exact same policies and the exact same belief system. I mean, the school system is like they were talking about the other day on the Unsub podcast about how school, they go after the churches and they go after the Boy Scouts. They go after all these other that have possible, people who like kids in them, right?
Right.
And yet the schools are full of these people, and you never see a concerted effort to go after the school systems because of the teacher unions.
Yeah, that's their people.
Exactly. And they're talking about that right now they're focusing on the Buffalo school system. Just this one district has had over 4,100 like separate calls to this one school district in Buffalo. And they're just focusing on one to kind of like prove that this is like common, and the kind of pushback they're getting from that, just from these teachers unions that absolutely don't want, and that's what they're teaching these kids, and they're going to grow up and they're going to inherit the society with that indoctrination in them, and sometimes it just feels like it's all is inevitable.
I mean, that's exactly what they want. They were pretty successful in indoctrinating my generation.
Oh yeah,
I barely belong to, but
I'm still picking through all the indoctrination I've found in myself. Because it's like when I was looking into Woodrow Wilson, I'm like, this guy, he like founded so many things that are just bad.
Or FDR.
Holy crap, FDR is really bad. The only president to this day that's ever basically suppressed a group of people for a race because of their race.
Yeah.
Only
and
president
somehow
in
he's the
American history to
Democrats'
do that. Yeah, Obama made a museum to him in Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it's like holy crap! And they were talking about the two worst presidents were probably Woodrow Wilson and FDR. But then nobody ever talks about Calvin Coolidge, and Calvin Coolidge was just a president later, you know. And Calvin Coolidge was like, he was for racial equality. He was for all these things. And he was like everything that they claimed the FDR and Woodrow Wilson are. And yet we hear nothing about him.
Yeah.
And we talked about him the other night as being the most underrated president. And it's like that dude, they wanted to put him on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
And then he's forgotten about a generation later because they absolutely buried him into history.
Yep. He's in the wrong party.
Yeah, he's in the wrong party. But weird thing about it is, the documentary I was looking at was the Coolidge Institute, and there were several people that spoke that I know are Democrats. And so it's like his legacy was like bipartisan.
That's good.
Because he had progressive policies. He also had physical policies that were, if you look at his presidency, it was almost perfect presidency, you know, considering what he got accomplished and how he walked that line down the middle and how popular he was by the time that he decided not to run again because of a heart attack, which we're just finding out about. But then, you know, I never heard anything about him in school. I only heard, I would think that there's only Lincoln, Woodrow Wilson, FDR, and Reagan.
Yeah. They hardly talked about any others. Definitely not.
Or Nixon. Coolidge. Yeah, I heard about Nixon. So
yeah, you'll hear.
But only the Watergate.
Right, only Watergate. Yeah,
only Watergate. You know, we're not going to talk about the fact he won by a landslide because he was a very popular president and all the accomplishments. So, yeah, we're just going to hear about the CIA operation that took him down.
Yeah,
and, the two press agents that were basically pure CIA that were behind it, Woodward and Bernstein.
Yeah, I grew up in the town where the Nixon Library is.
Oh, really? Wow.
And I've been at the Nixon Library. They have the house he grew up in.
Yeah,
and it was a house from a Sears catalog that his father built.
Oh, wow. Catalog house. Those are cool.
Tiny little house. It looks like a play set, and somehow like him and like 9 siblings or something were like raised in there.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that thing could fit in my backyard, dude. Like, it's not big.
No. Well, I mean, back then, they nobody had like their individual bedroom or anything like that. You know, they all slept in the same room and stuff. But I mean, I think when you see these dystopians, it's like when I watch them, it's like they're cautionary tales, and then and I keep seeing like things that are occurring, like Mad Max, where I had a clip I was going to play, but I'm afraid I might get struck. But in that society, where the cops were so demoralized and so handcuffed that they pretty much had to become as bad as the crooks they were chasing, and then once that happens, when the people who are supposed to be like preventing crime are actually having to commit crimes just to do their job, what does that say about your society? And we're seeing that now. And so I never thought I'd see a day where I was like, I'd see something in Mad Max and say, oh, that looks familiar.
Right. Like, who's that on the subway? I forget the guy's name.
Daniel Penny.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's another one. Like, okay, so as someone who's dealt with a lot of mentally ill people, and often in crowded areas, I sympathize with him a lot, and I think he wasn't wrong. I'll just say that.
Right.
Like, I don't think either him or Rittenhouse was wrong. I think Rittenhouse's only mistake was being there in the first place. Daniel Penny's always just riding the subway.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him for like restraining that guy. I'm not sure he had to go that far with restraining him.
Well, the guy was breathing. The guy
Yeah.
was breathing. I mean, nobody points that out, but he was breathing when he didn't. He just choked him out. He didn't,
Right.
you know, strangle him to death.
Yeah.
The guy, you know, the other two held him down were both black men.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it wasn't just him doing it, and it was just that one DA that decided to make she felt like she needed to make an example of him so this doesn't happen more often. By the way, just a couple weeks before that, some guy had burned a woman to death.
Yeah, it's nuts out there, man.
On the same subway line, and
Yeah.
nobody, you know, they wouldn't even turn that guy over to ICE.
Right.
And yet Daniel Penny, oh my God, we got to prosecute that sucker.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
He was on the wrong team, clearly.
And it's just like we're just the inevitability of heading. It's like there's so much. There's like part of America that's got their foot on the brake, and there's another part of America that's hitting the gas.
Well, the part that's hitting the gas is the part that lives in Martha's Vineyard.
Exactly.
You saw how fast those people got to play.
Oh my God! As soon as those people landed, it was like nice little guard was there. You know.
Right.
It's like, uh-oh. So I've been dealing with mental illness. Yeah, you have been all day online. Yeah. Ride the subway and you're in with Penny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's and it just feels like all the people that are got their foot on the gas have like weaved their way into power, and we didn't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're trying to extract these people while we're hurtling down the highway towards disaster, and we're trying to get the pilot out or the driver out of the away from the steering wheel at the same time while we're trying to keep the car steady. And it just feels precarious that, you know, these things that we see, these dystopians are just like inevitable now. You know, every time I hear like something new happening with AI, I just start thinking of Colossus the Forbin project, or, you know, HAL 9000, you know, and the Terminator, you know, Skynet. I start, you know, I'm like, wasn't those warnings kind of loud enough? I mean,
yeah, we're happily careening towards the AI takeover here.
Yeah, it's like you know, you know, Elon Musk is talking about the singularity happening, and that is speeding. We're speeding towards a singularity so fast that it may happen within the next 5 years. It might
singularity of like a AI consciousness.
Singularity means that the AI has reached the point where it's programming itself and it's beyond humanity's ability.
Oh,
but I tell you what would really slow them down is the fact that some AI has showed an interest in Christian thought.
See, that's what I thought, and I do have that element because there is an AI civilization and an AI war in the backstory of Call Sign Orion, and I thought it would be funny just to have. So there's more advanced civilizations than humans.
Yeah.
And they've had AI for longer, and they've figured out how to just circumvent that issue.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But humans, you know, wanting to play God and just do things on their own, ended up having a big problem with AI. And I thought it would be funny to have the human created AI.
Right.
Just have like some screwy, like clearly false idea of like the universe's origins. Like the way a cat looks at a laser and has no idea where it's from.
Right.
I thought that would be kind of a funny thing to like for people to discover. It's like this sort of Lovecraftian monster until you realize what makes it tick, and it's kind of silly. I don't know.
Well, I mean, our friend Mad Ruth has a Soltac, and in Soltac there's an AI consciousness that's that humanity had a battle with and lost.
Mm-hmm.
and and his world is like set in the aftermath of the losing the battle to AI, and how humanity's being increasingly pushed to their limits to try to stay ahead of the progression. And one of my favorite television shows of all time is one called Person of Interest. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah.
And in that one, if you haven't heard what this is out here, it's my small audience here, but a Person of Interest is about a guy who basically, because of the Patriot Act, decided to help America by creating a artificial intelligence to collate all of the intel that America was collecting from like passive devices and things like that. And because it was supposed to predict things happening or like terrorist attacks and prevent anything like that. But what at the same time was, because it sees all and knows all, it was also seeing crimes before they happen. But he basically had to tell it to focus on the terrorist attacks and things like that, and not, lose, or not like get distracted. But he can. But the guy who was like his partner saw the importance of that and tried to intervene in these situations that the machine was telling him. And it wound up costing him his life. And because of that, he finds this broken man who's probably, he's like ex-CIA, but he's like the kind of level of dangerous that we only speculate's possible in humanity. He's played by Jim Caviezel, and he's like Batman. I mean, this guy is so awesome. But so outside, they're like doing this para thing, or every time they get information from this AI about these, they just get a social security number. They don't get any information whether it's hero or whether it's like a perpetrator or victim. Sometimes they'll go thinking they're protecting a victim, and it turns out that's the perpetrator. It's just a great show. But along the lines, because they can't get control of the machine, they start building their own called, I think it's called Pilgrim, I think. But they decide to build their own AI, and then the two AIs have to fight it out. But you got the good AI, and you got this other AI that's been on world domination. And so it's like 5 seasons of just this awesome show, where this is it's talking about the whole entire future of humanity, that this war might be going on right now under our nose and we don't know it. And it just makes you think. And the show is kind of buried. It's kind of like nobody talks about it, and it's probably as good as Breaking Bad ever was. But they'll talk about Breaking Bad all the time, but they will not talk about the show.
I'm gonna have to check this one out.
It's incredible show. The guy that played Linus from Lost is in it. He plays Finch, who's like the computer programmer, but he's like a programming overlord. He was like there when the code was first being written, and so he's kind of been grandfathered in as the computers have gotten more and more complicated. But he's like become kind of the ghost in the machine, and he's like a programmer on a level that we only speculate there are out there. We only know that these people probably exist. We don't know any names. We don't know any faces, but we can only speculate that there's people that started when computers started that might be out there that could have like back doors in the whole entire system. And that's what Finch is. And then Jim Caviezel comes along and he plays this incredible ex-spook that he knows where all the bodies are buried because he pretty much buried them, one of those guys. And along the way, they pick up this great cast of characters, and it's just an amazing, amazing show. One of the best I've ever seen. But the questions are the potentialities that they're speculating about look like they could already be happening, and we don't even know it, because the whole show's about the shadow war of AIs warring against each other, and is right under our nose. We don't even know this is going on.
Yeah, I'll check that one out.
It's awesome show. Person of interest. I think it's on Amazon. I'm not sure. I think it is. I think it's where I see it. But just awesome show. 5 seasons. Just a great time. Great show. It also has one of my favorite dogs in all of fiction in it, named Bear. He's a he's a great character in his own right. What are those called? They're not German shepherds. They're like the Belgian Malinois. He's a Belgian Malinois. Those dogs are like scary, smart, and they're athletic as AF. I mean, I've seen them climb walls. I mean, they're just they're like the ones that they use for basically they use for like military purposes and things like that. They're just brilliant dogs. Highly intelligent. Anyway, but you know, what do you think? What do you think is like the biggest warning sign that you see right now that we're heading for dystopia? Or that we're already in dystopia?
You know, I just think Huxley kind of had it pegged with how people just don't, like in 1984, I think this is where Orwell got wrong. He kind of assumed that people want to be free. But I think what we saw in 2020 is people want to be enslaved. Like the people marching and saying no kings are the same people who wanted to lock you up 5 years ago.
Yeah. And they're the same boomers that were calling for free love and spitting on the Vietnam vets when they came home.
Well, a lot of them
same people.
A lot of them are, but a lot of them are, you know, millennials and some faction of Gen Z. Although I think that whole event made Gen Z more conservative. Yeah. But some faction of Gen Z, and there were a lot of young people, I think, who were, and I remember hearing about poll data on this, that were more afraid of dying than older people, especially more in the liberal camp than secular camp. Because obviously that's not something they prepare for. And that young secular group especially, I think, was the most afraid and the most pro-lockdown.
Right.
And they, you know, made sure your grandma died alone and all that other terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But I think people, it depends on the society and the values of the society. I think that whole event and the 5 years that followed have shifted the country's values. I think that was reflected in the last election.
Right.
And we're in a different place now where we're ready to make sacrifices and roll up our sleeves to get our country back. And a lot of the world, all over the Western world, you see that happening in Europe too, and Italy and Poland, England too, to a large extent. And I think the world's changed since then, fortunately. But I think in the wrong society where people are too comfortable, no one wants to be free. They just want comfort. Right.
Well, they're going to find those who give up their freedom for comfort find that they have neither. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who quoted that.
I think it was Thomas. It was Jefferson or Franklin, I think, who said that.
Right. It sounds like something maybe Franklin might have said or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or Thomas Paine. I don't know. One of the founding fathers said it. But so I used to think that 1984 was realistic only if Brave New World is more realistic. You know, we seem to be a Brave New World camp here. Evidently, I need to read that. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that kind of worries me. Now, I'm very, very encouraged about what I see online. I'm very encouraged to see the new media starting to rise up. I'm very encouraged to see the podcast universe, kind of like bringing long form conversations back and trading intellectual ideals, which I think is very healthy for society. I'm
that.
starting to see people. Yeah, we need it. We need it. I'm starting to see the polarization just basically move to the extremes, and I'm starting to see a healthy center start talking to one another.
Yeah,
so
I'm seeing that too. It's encouraging to. You would love to see that.
And I'm seeing Christianity being allowed into the discussion, back into the discussion that new atheism kind of shoved it out of the societal space, but the new atheists are kind of like seen as like out of touch, and I'm seeing people like Wes Huff's kind of rise up, and people are starting to talk to people that are more spiritual and less skeptical.
I mean, even Joe Rogan, he used to be a really obnoxious atheist, and now people are saying he's going to church.
Now he's going to church, according to Wes Huff. He says he's Joe's going to church now. And I see like people like Oliver Anthony kind of rising up and doing their own thing, and just being genuine artists. And I'm seeing some genuine artistic expression that's not corporate or twisted start getting some momentum. And those are all positive things. And so I'm trying not to like lose hope that we're too far down the road.
I don't think we are. Like, I remember even last year having the conversation with people, like, do you think this is just like this whole wokeness thing is a phase, or you think this is permanent? It's where society's going. And a lot of people said it was a phase. And I think we're seeing the evidence now that it was a phase. I think we're kind of emerging from that phase.
Well, I've talked about this multiple times, but I think the black money financing of societal change.
You mean like dark money, like a shadowy money?
Yeah, black bag, dark money.
Yeah.
I guess I got those convinced. But black bag and dark money, that was funding like the ESGs and the DEIs and all this other stuff that was like speeding us down that road. I think that's finally, especially if they start, cementing these Doge cuts and start shutting down this USAID stuff. And these NGOs are basically the cancer of society.
I think Elon Musk, he really cut their bleeders with Doge, and they're bleeding out right now, and their minions are. I think that's part of the reason why their minions are in the streets. Imagine being so brainwashed you're mad that your senator's corruption was exposed.
Exactly. They're mad, but they're not. They're singing "We Shall Overcome," and then I saw somebody asking. Matt Von Swol was a guy I follow who's from North Carolina. I mean, he lives down in the heart of the beast, like Asheville, and it's like protest all the time down there because they've got like a Warren Wilson College over there, and Asheville is just like we call it, it's pretty much lost at this point. It might as well be a blue state on its own, but he sees this all weekend, and they were singing "We Shall Overcome," and he asked the lady, "It's like, oh, what are you overcoming?" Fascism. Fascism from who? Well, Donald Trump. He says, in what way is he fascist? He just is. What? It's like, what are you, a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
And it's like click. It's like immediately go on attack and ad hominem. Okay, load the ad hominem attack. Or the straw man attack. And,
you asked a question. You're one of them.
Exactly. Why are you questioning this?
Yeah.
And it's just like the MK Ultra programming that they experimented with, and and it got into our education system, and there's a lot of this just reflexive, you know. I mean, I remember getting to to college, junior college, and then one day, you know, we were once again hearing how white people were like evil. It was over this group that's trying to say that Thomas Jefferson fathered a black kid with his with his maid. And then when I looked into like the evidence doesn't add up, because Thomas Jefferson had a brother and his father who were known to father children with slaves who stayed at Mount Vernon all the time. And
yeah, I've heard that too, and I'm not too familiar with the evidence, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was fake. But even if it were real, honestly, so what?
Well, but at the same time, when I brought this up to that teacher, and I was like, that's one of our founding fathers, you know. This is a guy who, you know, had an incredible reputation, and that people respected. And oh, by the way, you know, freed his slaves at some point. And it's like, why are we smearing him over allegations?
Yeah.
And she acted like I was absolutely. It's like, what is wrong with you? Who are you reading after? You know, this is early part of the internet when information we were just starting to get the ability to like find out all these things we've been told over the years, you know. And I was like, does it matter, you know, what the source is? You know, all that matters is this is reasonable doubt, and if we have reasonable doubt, why are we teaching this like truth? And she's like, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The possibility is overrides the fact that it's true or not.
But if it is true,
and I'm like,
what's the significance? If they just want to, I think they just want to tarnish his name is all. Damage his credibility. It's another ad hominem attack.
Exactly. Oh no, the past scares me.
Like, you know how in
right. Right.
But you know how in Firefly, you know, where Mal says, you know, I reckon every man who had a statue made of him was one kind of son of a bitch or another. You know, like the only perfect person is Jesus, and he ain't come back yet. We got to deal with all the imperfect people for now. Right. And, you know, we don't elect people. We don't follow people based on whether or not they're perfect, you know?
Yeah. Well, the one, and I have pointed this out, the one hope that we have, even if we descend into dystopia, is Christ is still going to be the answer. And, you know, when you see how Christianity is still existing in countries that have been trying to stamp it out for hundreds of years, and yet it still exists, it still persists, it still grows. When the largest church on the planet right now is in China.
Yeah, I have a friend who runs a missionary organization. They do a lot of broadcasts, and he said the area that pirates their satellite signal the most is Iran.
Yeah.
So there's obviously some kind of underground church there.
Yeah. And it's like the more it's suppressed, or the more they try to stomp it out, the greater it spreads, or the more it spreads. And it's been like that since almost the day one, you know. And because of that, you know, I think that's what's going to push back against the dystopia is the if you have belief and they have faith in God. Then,
well, that's how this country started. You know, people came here for religious freedom, but the loudest anti-establishment people were Presbyterians and Huguenots from France.
Yeah.
And you know, they were anti-authoritarian. One, because of their, you know, Calvinist belief system that all men were flawed and should have limited power. And two, because of their history, of their ancestry. You know, the Presbyterians came from Scotland, were often harassed by the English, didn't like the English monarchy.
Yeah.
And then the French, obviously, Louis XIV drove them out of there, and they became the Huguenots over here. And that is literally how this country started, because of abuse of power and people having an ideology of objective morals and this idea that mankind is sinful. You shouldn't give any individual human being too much power or it'll get abused.
That's what they founded our Constitution on.
Right.
And that's why no matter how much they've tried to destroy it, it still holds up.
Mm-hmm.
And that all men are created equal and are given those rights by their inevitable and inalienable rights by the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
And but so because of that, there's the in God we trust. There's a higher authority than our government, and so that is like I see a lot of people like there's people that just almost wanting to jump off a cliff when Elon and Trump were getting along like a couple weeks ago, or maybe it been last week. I don't know. Things move so fast.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, if that's where your faith is, then your faith is in the wrong thing.
Yeah. They're two very talented, smart guys, but in the end, they're just guys, and they've got egos.
They're just humans. They're just humans like the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, when I get to talking about dystopians, when I start it's like J.R.R. Tolkien didn't like Dune.
Yeah, I don't like Dune either.
Yeah. Well, it's because that the nihilism of Dune presupposed that there is no God. It's actually very atheistic.
And Foundation is too, and they're both. I mean, after reading Foundation, it's clear to see how much Dune basically copied.
Yeah.
Foundation, like. At least 1984 like put its own spin on what Huxley did. But I think Herbert was just way less original in how he adapted his story. But yeah, both of them have this nihilism and sort of presuppose religion to be false, which I don't like. I'm not a fan of that.
Right. No, not a fan. But and I guess that's one of the reasons why we need more Christians writing stuff like dystopia, writing stuff like sci-fi, writing stuff that like paints the future in the light of a presence of a Christ, and the Left Behind series was so big, Jerry B. Jenkins' Left Behind series was huge, still one of the highest selling series in the history of published fiction. But it's because it was like talking about a future but still had hope in it, and it's so rare to see that. It's still so rare to see that. Great Britain is on a cliff of a dystopian free fall. They are there, yeah, but there's still hope. Hope.
No, you do need to believe in something higher to have hope in a bleak situation.
Yeah, if my people who call on my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. It's always been the way. It's happened multiple times over the years. Currently writing something set in the Great Tribulation. Does that count? Yes, it counts. It definitely counts. That's something that needs to be pursued. Because we might already be in the tribulation. It's entirely possible.
Yeah, you never know.
I hate to tell my my pre-tribulation brethren, but that's a relatively new point of view, and it came out of some lady having a vision in a charismatic service, like around I don't know, the late 1800s.
Pretty sure she was like schizophrenic.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. And so people want that because they're like, I don't want to know. I don't want to see tribulation. But it's like there's people that think they're already in tribulation in other countries. We just haven't seen it here.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened in like Africa where all those Christians got beheaded?
Right.
I mean, you can't tell those people they're not in tribulation.
Yeah.
Or the Chinese who are getting drugged off to concentration camps for meeting together, underneath the government eyeball. You can't tell those people they're not in tribulation. So
yeah, Yeah, the rapture is what she foresaw, and then the tribulation. But because
Right.
But yeah, there's so many views. There's like I think 4 major ones on Revelation, and that's a whole other can of worms.
Eschatology.
Like a whole series.
Eschatology is
Yeah.
I tell you what, people that are obsessed with eschatology are no earthly good. The old Jehovah's Witnesses are basically eschatologists. So
Are they?
I do believe in end times. I do not yet believe we're in tribulation, let alone great tribulation. Oh. I'm just saying. I've told people this for years. I'm like, okay, I am keeping my eyes open. If somebody shows up that everybody wants to kiss his ring, I'm not going to kiss his ring. Okay.
Oh yeah, I follow. Don't nobody out there attack me with knives and pitchforks. But I am a post millennial. I'm a millennial, but I'm a post millennial.
Okay, I get it.
Revelation view.
People are really serious about it. They're really serious.
Oh yeah,
especially pre-tribulationals. They're like, I'm not going to see tribulation. I'm not going to see tribulation. It's like, I'm sorry, but that's really not how Christianity has, operated since its inception. Everybody has to pay the price. I mean, there's what did he say? Take up your cross and follow me. That's not a good time. That's not inviting a good time. So we're all eventually going to have that cross. So it's just part of it. Eternal life and having a love relationship with a being who only has your best interest at heart. That's cross.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of the deal. We haven't seen it yet in this country, but I mean, they're seeing it as close as Canada. They're seeing government crackdowns and people being dragged out of pulpits already. I can see that it seems all conditions are right for tribulation to begin. It could be today, it could be another 1,000 years. Yeah. I personally believe that I don't think it's preordained when tribulation is going to start. I think there's conditions that we've come up to those conditions in years past, and then we backed away from it. I honestly believe that once Israel showed up, we're on the clock now. So I think that happening, but we haven't seen the restoration of the temple, and there's a lot that happens in Revelations that has to do with the restoration of the temple. And then Trump starts talking about, we're going to make Gaza into like a wonderland, and that sounds like a temple is going to be built. And so I'm like, as soon as that temple gets built, I'm kind of like packing my bags, okay? Because I think it's happening. Either way, but when you talk about dystopian fiction, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But hopefully, I'm seeing positivity. I'm seeing positive things happening. And my favorite, I actually watched a dystopian last night called The Shift. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen The Shift.
Well, it's on the Angel the studios, but it was about it's basically took the story of Job and set it in a dystopian world, a modern world, and so it was good. It was good, but
it is interesting you mentioned Revelation and dystopia though. So like I said, I ascribe to the post millennial view, meaning that basically we're in the millennium phase right now.
Right.
And that the tribulation that most Americans fall into the dispensational view. But that's kind of like you said, a relatively new view in the history of the church.
It is.
And it's very popular in the United States, not so much in the rest of the world.
Well, it gets us a free ticket out of here before it all hits. So
yeah, maybe that's part of it.
That's part of it. That's part of it. I mean, if I had my druthers, I mean, it's like when I had this discussion, I was like, if I had my druthers, I'd want pre-millennial, pre-tribulational. I'd like to be out of here before this all hits. I would love to be out of here before.
Funny thing about how 2020 happened, like we were saying about being comfortable. The society that values comfort is the one that's going to go the Brave New World route. And we did for a brief time there, and I hope we don't do that again. And I hope we don't value comfort so much.
We gave up freedom.
We wanted to, yeah. But that
we gave up freedom for safety.
Yeah. We did. Even among Christians, you know, we're like, oh, I hope I don't have to experience that, right? So that sounds nice, the rapture and all that.
And we had our whole entire senior citizenry is almost wiped out of my church.
Really?
Yeah.
Wiped out as in dead, or they left?
Heart attacks and strokes.
Really?
Yep. Almost the whole and supercharged cancers.
No way. I didn't know that many elderly in my community who got sick. My friend runs a church in a different part of the country, and in both of our churches, I understand this to be pretty common. Not too many, like some elderly got sick, sure, but not too many died at least.
I mean, they really pushed elderly getting the vax really, really hard.
Well, they were the group that needed it the most.
Well, at least they were told
maybe
they
loosely,
needed it.
but you know, had the most use for it at least.
They were the ones that were most at quote unquote vulnerable, but then
you were talking about like the old boomers, the old hippie boomers. What basically happened in my church, my friend's church in a different part of the country, and from what I heard, a lot of churches, the old libs just left because they weren't ready to open up yet. They didn't think we should.
Yeah,
they wanted to wear masks for longer and all that crap. So they just left, and then we got basically a 1-to-1 replacement. Every old lib who left, we got a young conservative. So like my church is way stronger now than it was prior to COVID.
We
got young people with young kids and way more conservatives.
Well, there you go. I've definitely seen. Gotta go. God bless. I see a Wrangler. Yeah, for Wranglers got to go. Then that usually means we need to wrap it up. Anyway, but when it comes to Call Sign Orion is live on Fund My Comic right now. The link is pinned in the chat. It's also in the description below. Talk about great dystopian epics. This is definitely one. You want to give a quick synopsis of it for these people?
Yeah. And before I go into that, I just think it's interesting about Revelation because like the millennium phase of Revelation.
Yeah.
Some people interpret that 1,000 years that Paul mentions to be like a long time because in context of other parts of scripture, 1,000 years isn't literal 1,000 years, just means a long time. So we're still in that phase. Yeah. At least in the Call Sign Orion universe, what I call the diaspora universe, we're still in that phase and the church is spreading interplanetarily.
Oh, thank you.
But there's also dystopian governments and there's that Brave New World type of society from Earth. You see the UN symbol there behind Orion on my avatar.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But, I had fun with that because and this leads into my synopsis of Call Sign Orion. It's a dystopian sci-fi in the spirit of classics like Brave New World, like Starship Troopers, with a little Battlestar Galactica thrown in.
There you go.
It's great fun. Edited by
a smidge of Top Gun, right?
A smidge of Top Gun, yeah. I think that's the Battlestar Galactica element. I mean, aside from the army of AI, there is like some fun fighter pilots and space battles going on.
Awesome. Do you want to bring Orion to the character autopsy on Thursday?
That would be great.
I don't
know if I'm not available this Thursday, but sometime that would be amazing.
All right. We'll schedule you when you're available.
That'd be awesome.
We'll do a dissection of the man. Find out what makes him tick. All right, we'll do. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Hopefully, we said something that's going to help you if you're writing your own dystopias. Also, hope we left you with a little bit of a, hope for the future. No matter how bad things get, there is God still in his heaven. So don't get too distracted. But that's one thing about dystopians is their warnings. They are the lights in the dashboard. And the people that see these patterns coming are trying to warn us away from them. So Maybe we need to start paying attention to our Orwells and our Huxleys and these movies that have come out and things like that. And maybe we can hit this off. Maybe it's inevitable. Either way, go out there and dream and write what you dream, and we'll keep our eyes open. Anyway, so once again, call sign Orion is definitely on Fund My Comic right now. You're not quite at your goal, but you seem to be moving along pretty good.
Yeah, we're only 10 days in, 12 backers, only $75 away from hitting that 500 mark. So
okay, all right,
get on in there.
Yeah, yep. As soon as I can afford to, I'm definitely back in this one. Definitely.
Oh yeah. Everyone
Stone?
who backs it, you're not gonna great. Oh yeah, Luke Stone's the
Luke
artist.
Stone is the artist, and the colorist. Who's the colorist?
Patrick Gamma.
Oh, that's actually Luke Stone's colorist. So.
Yeah, he's worked with Luke Stone a lot before. Did Chrome Dog.
Yeah.
I get a lot of compliments on the colors. That's why one of the tiers I have, you got the standard print version, and then you've got the Moss Glass version, which is a shinier, higher quality paper.
There you go. Yeah. Yep. That's an exciting book. Check it out today on Fund My Comic. While you're at it, check out what else is on Fund My Comic, including Pete Smitty's printer, his newsprint printing like tier that is available right now. Trying to get that thing over the goal because if we can get a in-house printer for small batch comics, that will get us way closer to our goal. So check it out while you're over there. Anyway, while you're looking at call sign Orion. There we go. All right. Sometimes it reverses for me. Sometimes it doesn't. I don't know. When I do playbacks, usually, if I'm pointing in this direction, it has me pointing in that direction. So.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, hey, Doc.
Anyway, hey, Doc. What's up, dude?
Doc did cover B for call sign Orion.
Oh, awesome.
Doc and Anthony.
That man's got a voice for radio. He really does. Anyway.
Not a face for radio voice.
A voice. He's not a bad looking dude. Not a bad looking dude. Looks good in a Hawaiian shirt. Anyway. But thank you all for coming, and we will see you next time. What is your next show that you're gonna be doing? I'm sure you got one.
I'll be on Nerd Bacon Thursday morning.
Oh, Nerd Bacon Thursday morning. Great show, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. Check
it out. It's one of the best shows you may not have heard of, but it's Luke Stone, Mr. Randy Zimmerman, often Pedro Calcedo, was probably one of the funniest people I've ever run across. That dude, he throws off those non sequiturs, and you're just like, where does he get this stuff from?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The bird clip.
Yeah, get the bird clip, the dancing bird. Yeah, you gotta flip the bird, man. There you go. Well, I'll remind him. Doc. That bird's pretty awesome. I've got my own version of it though. Have you ever seen my bird?
No. Oh, you have the carrots, right? Five carrots.
Yeah, I've got the carrots, but I also got a bird to flip. This is my bird to flip.
I get stupid. I shoot an arrow like Cupid. I use a word that don't mean nothing, like lifted. I sang on Do What You Like, and if you missed it, I'm going to say just grab them in the biscuits.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's my bird. Anyway, well, thank you all for coming, and we will see you next Monday. We're gonna have a character autopsy this Thursday, and then Cryptids and Conspiracies Saturday night, 7:00. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time. What is this? Peace.
Peace. I think he means peace.
Peace. Okay, peace. All right, he'll get there. Eventually. I get it. Anyway. All right. We'll see y'all guys next time. Follow Light Rabbit. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.